Hi friends, welcome to my channel. My name is Juan. I'm a yarn addict, hence the name Juan the Yarn Addict, and I want to thank each and every one of you guys for stopping by to check out my video today. Today's video is a tutorial on how to join granny squares. This is actually made in response to the many requests that I've been getting regarding how to join the granny squares, and I am showing you the easiest and simplest way to do that. So I'm going to show you what this looks like here from a distance. This here was, the squares were made by my mom. I think I mentioned throughout the tutorial, thanks to editing, I did mention that my mom has macular degeneration, so she can't see fully forward, and so there are a lot of mistakes that she's made with these squares, but I've been able to hide them by using this method that I'm going to show you on how to join the squares. So, yes, some of the squares, let me just pull up a couple to kind of show you some of the imperfections here. This one, the square isn't necessarily square, but all of the stitch counts are there. And then there's some here where she actually crocheted too many stitches in the corner, and it doesn't look as it should. Like some of these corners have 4 on one side and 3 on the other. Some of them have no chains. In the corners, it's straight 6. But in either case, we're going to cherish her work, cherish her efforts by still combining them. And this tutorial is going to be super easy for you guys to follow. It's going to be one that maybe you reference back to in the event that you have a bunch of squares in front of you that you're trying to figure out how to put together. It's super fast, super easy, and you're going to enjoy it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Okay guys, for this tutorial, you're going to need granny squares. You're going to need a hook, crochet hook, and you're going to need a pair of scissors, and you're going to need a darning needle to complete the project here. So ideally, you would like to use the same size hook that was used to create your squares. Unless it's intentional, you can go bigger or smaller, but just make sure that you're aware of what you need to get from point A to point B, so long as the length of where you're going lays flat. Okay, so these particular squares were given to me by my mother. I showcased this project in an earlier video. She has macular degeneration, and so as a result, she cannot see clearly in front of her, and her work is less than perfect. She cannot see to be able to put these together, so I am her eyes. And I decided that we are going to combine these in the easiest and simplest way possible, which is to go through the chain spaces. By doing that, it will hide all of the imperfections here throughout all of her squares. Some of the squares have more stitches than they should, which is fine. We're still going to work with this, but we're going to combine the squares going through all of the chain spaces. And what you want to do is you want to make sure that your chain spaces are the same in quantity between all of your squares. Obviously, you can't join squares that don't match. So, I mean, you can, but for the purposes of this tutorial, you want to make sure that your squares are the same size. So, once you've figured that out and everything is good, the next thing we need to determine are where are the fronts and where are the backs. So the backs of your granny squares typically are going to be more bulbous at the base of the stitches as opposed to the front. That's one way to determine which is the front and which is the back. So there's more bulbs at the bottom of the stitches here, so obviously this here, my friends, is the back. So we're going to lay that flat like that. We're going to take a look at this. That's the bulbous side, so this is the back. Another way to determine which is the front and which is the back is if you're looking head-on at your work. In some cases, you will see that the stitches actually tilt towards you. When they tilt towards you, that's the top. When they tilt away from you, that's the back. That's kind of how you can tell. That's another way. It's not true in every case, but if you can't tell by the bases of the stitch, then try and look it that way. And yeah, so that's how I determine the fronts and the backs. This is the back, that's the front. So what we're going to do is we are going to just make sure that the same side of the squares are faced up. So as long as they're up and they're the same side, we can flip it like a book and begin. So I'm going to zoom in just a little more. Okay. Let me make sure we're not moving here. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we need to determine the center. So my mom has a real tiny chain right there, but I want to insert my hook right into center. Look and see where the center is here. Okay. And then insert like that. Okay. The next thing that we need to do is grab some yarn. So I'm using Loops and Threads Soft Classics in white. And what we want to do is we want to create a loop. And let me get myself situated here. Okay. We want to have a nice sized tail, about the length of a crochet hook. Okay. And what we want to do is attach the loop of the yarn to the head of the hook and pull through each corner, like so, like that. And then what we want to do is set up our hand so that both plies are being held by your hand here. And then what you want to do is you want to loop to lock in, but make sure you're grabbing both strands there. Okay. And then what we want to do is grab both if we can and go through to chain one and then do a single crochet. Just make sure that the tension is correct. Okay. Do a single crochet and then drop your tail. Once that single crochet is done, that's locked into place, we're good to go. The next thing we need to do is chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. And then we can go to the next chain space and single crochet 1. And we're going to do the same thing all the way across. It's a chain 3 and then single crochet 1 in the chain space. 2, 3. Single crochet 1, 2, 3. Single crochet 1, 2, 3. And then single crochet just like that. 1, 2, oops, and 3. Now we're at the corner. We're just going to determine where our corner is. Okay, so it's there and there. We're going to insert our hook, grab the yarn through, pull through, single crochet. So that's the first side, that's done. And as you can tell, it lays pretty flat. And the reason why we're doing 3 chains in between the chain spaces is because each cluster here of double crochets are composed of 3 stitches. So because there's 3 stitches down here, there needs to be 3 chains up here in order for this to lay flat. So hook size is important in that way. Now, if you're intentionally creating bobbles and loops and things, then, do whatever you want. But for uniformity and flatness and all the other things, we're just making sure that everything matches. So hook size to the project, hook size to the links, same size. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is get our next set of squares and make sure that both fronts are faced up. We're going to close it like a book, and as you can tell, it's not a perfect match, and that is okay. We're more concerned with chain spaces here. Everything will fall into place in a minute. So just determine your centers like that, line them up, and then you're going to take your crochet hook just like this, You're going to insert and then grab your yarn, wrap it around the head of your hook, and then perform another single crochet just like this. No chain spaces in between. You want single crochet, just like that. And whatever you do, not too tight. If you make this too tight, it's not going to look right. Just keep it taut, not too tight and not too loose. And then what we want to do is chain 3 and perform this the same way we did the first square. Just line up your chain spaces, perform a single crochet, and chain 3 in between each of the chain spaces. And then in the chain space, single crochet. Whoops. One, two, three. Single crochet. Let me back this up a little bit. One, two, three. This is a corner piece, and this is the corner piece. Okay, so we're at the end of the row here, like so, like that. Okay, this is one of the imperfections that I was talking about. Not worried about it. We're just going to keep moving on. So to finish your row, once you've combined all your squares for however long you're making this, once you've reached the end, what you want to do is you want to chain 2, just like that. Not too tight, not too loose, just chain 2. Then grab your scissors, leave yourself a little tail like that, pull your hook through, and then take your thumb and your index finger above the 2 chains, pinch, and pull down. And once you do that, it locks it right into place. It's a double knot. It goes from 2 chains to a double knot. And then what I try to do right away, so I don't leave anything linger, I sew in my end right away. Because if I don't do it now, I'm going to forget, and then I'm going to procrastinate, and then I'm going to have a project with a bunch of ends. So we're going to do it right now to get it out of the way. So I insert my needle into my stitches in between the fibers. That's the preferred way to do it, because by doing it that way, you're making sure that it holds and it doesn't fall out. And yeah. So let me go ahead and reinsert there like that. And go back. And you want to think of this as a zigzag. Create a letter Z. So I went this way, now I'm going this way, and then to finish it off, I'm going back this way. And you want to go in between the fibers, just like that. And then get your scissors and cut off the end. So, done. There we go. Okay. So now that that is done, I won't have to worry about sewing that in later. Okay. So, now we did one side, now we need to do the other way, the cross way. So, what I like to do is, I open everything up, and then I fold in the opposite direction. I fold in the direction I just went with my stitches. And now the opposite side is open. So now we're going to swivel this down and go to this corner right here. Just like that. Line up your chain spaces in your corners. Grab your hook and go into your corners like that. And then grab your yarn. Make sure that you have a tail about the length of a crochet hook. And then using the head of your crochet hook, grab the loop and pull through both of your corners like this. Set your hand up, chain 1, and then go in and do a single crochet. Once your single crochet is done, drop your tail, and then chain 3. And now the pattern continues. single crochet, and chain 3. Okay, 1, 2, and 3, and now we're at the corner. Let me back this up so you can see a little bit better. So now we're at the corner. We've done the same old single crochet, chain 3, single crochet all the way down, just like that. So in the corner, we've already worked the corner pieces, the corner spaces. I can actually feel the holes with my fingers. So you're literally just going to insert your hook right in the same hole that you used the first time around. Grab your yarn and perform a single crochet, just like that. Make sure to not pull too hard. And then go right into the next one and perform another single crochet, just like that. And then chain 3, 2, 3, and then continue on with your single crochet, chain 3, all the way down till the end of the row. I don't know what Mom was thinking here. She changed quite a bit, but that's okay. And then, where's this? Okay, so here's the corner piece to that one, and here's the corner piece to that one. So we're just going to insert there. Okay, and then we're going to chain 2 to finish. We're going to have a little bit of a tail. Pull through, and then pinch and pull, just like that. And before I do anything, I'm going to sew in this end. We're not going to forget that part, guys. Next time, I'm going to grab a smaller darning needle because this one is huge. I use this for my 5 and 6 weight yarns, not my 4s and 3s. I don't know what I was thinking. Okay, zigzag effect. I went one way, now I'm going back the other way, and I'm making sure to grab some fibers, go in between with this huge eye. And then, okay, finally we're going to go the final pass, just like that, and we are going to cut that off, like that. Okay, so now, let me back up a little bit. Oops, sorry guys. Move this camera up. Okay. So that's kind of what it looks like, and it straightens out. Because we just did this cross section here, you can tell how straight this is by just using the holes here. Now, Mama does have some imperfections in her stitches, and that's fine. But let's say this was the edge of the blanket, then I obviously would put a border on this, which I intend on doing fully once it's completed. Now this is the back. And see, this isn't huge to me. Like, that's fine. If this is all that this is, I mean, we're talking like 1/4 of an inch. It's like a ridge when you're doing a front post double crochet. You have a ridge there. It's no bigger than that. That's perfectly fine. And then the other thing too is when you do this chain 2 and you pull closed, you're doing what's called a double knot. And you have full autonomy to do what you want, but you can literally cut that off and leave that go. Just like that. So my friends, that's what this looks like joined together using the easiest possible method, which is joining by the chain spaces. Single crochet, chain 3. And let me show you what a more finished part of the project looks like. So when you join at the chain spaces, this is what it looks like. You can't even tell that these squares were not even perfectly square. They actually look really nice. And yeah, just make sure you go into the correct chain spaces, and you're chaining 3, but let me flip it to the other side to show you what the other side looks like as well. So this is what the back looks like. And honestly, guys, I can pull on this quite hard. Like, I'm really yanking at this, and it's not coming apart. So it is durable. And you already have holes in it, like with the granny squares. The holes that are created by this are no bigger than what's already there. So it's definitely not going anywhere. So I highly recommend this method if you have a lot of squares and you're trying to join them quickly. It does not look bad at all, guys. And especially if you have squares that are not perfect. If you're a beginner and you have some incorrection or imperfect spaces throughout your squares, this is the perfect way to still join them and hide those imperfections. So that's all there is. That wraps up this tutorial, guys. If you enjoyed this tutorial as much as I'm thinking you have enjoyed it, then please feel free to give me a like, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already subscribed, and of course hit that notification button to stay up to date with me and my channel. And yes, thank you for watching, and until the next one, guys, take care.